Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think.
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 6 weeks out from Election Day, our brand new NBC News poll is giving us the latest snapshot of where the candidates stand with voters. Steve Kornacki is joining us now from the big board to break down these new numbers. So, Steve, a big difference from our last look back in July.
Yeah, Hallie, and frankly, a big difference from our polling over the last year when Joe Biden had been the Democratic candidate, generally trailing Trump in our polling. Now Kamala Harris 49, Trump 44 nationally in our new poll. Two significant changes to how folks view Kamala Harris seem to be powering this. First of all, just the overall impression people have of her. Is it positive or negative? Well, look, back in July when we asked about this, only 32% of voters had a positive view of the vice president. Since she became the Democratic candidate, look at that jump all the way up to 48%, a 16-point jump. And this as well, she's the vice president in an unpopular administration. But when you ask the question in our poll, which candidate better represents change right now, Harris 47% higher than Trump, the challenger, at 38%.
How about those issues that voters have consistently said matter to them, the immigration and the economy, Steve?
Yeah, so the headline here is positive for Democrats, but this is what Republicans have in this poll that they can take heart from. The border and immigration and the economy, those top two issues remain advantages for Donald Trump by 21 points for Trump on the border, 9 points on the economy. That's not quite the same advantage he had when Biden was the candidate, but that's still very significant potentially, Hallie.
Nothing, man. I'm here. What? Did you park in my driveway? No, I didn't park in your driveway, dude. I'm green. I walk everywhere. You know that. Okay. You need to eat this room? Yeah, give me the stuff. Yeah, okay, here. This is it? Yeah, that's it. That's what you want. Okay. Put it away. Okay. Give me the money. There's the money. Why do you need this at 7 o'clock in the morning? I have a job I have to get to, unlike some other people I know. Okay. I don't know anything about business. I don't have a real job. I could be sleeping right now, but I'm up delivering mushrooms to you. Thank you. Can you just tell Blake I said hi? Yeah, that'll happen. That'd be nice.
Morning, gentlemen. Hey,
I'm sorry I was acting like a dick, but we can't keep horsing around like this or else we're gonna end up getting fired. So, deal?
Deal.
All right.
Deal. Thanks, bud.
Sure.
This isn't coffee.
No, coffee's for closers, but it's green tea, and it's better for you. Okay? Now let's get some sales. I'll be in my office should you need me.
Hey, man. Caffeine's caffeine, right?
Thank you for calling Service Force. How may I help you? Sure thing. Hold, please.
All right, Miss Carlson, we're going to go ahead and get that out to you within 6 to 9. I'm telling you, the sword is unbreakable. Business days. You can hit it with whatever you want. Fuck. Shut up, dude. All right, whatever, bye.
Buddy, how you doing? How are you doing over there, dude?
Freaking balls right now, dude.
I thought you lost your fucking head, dude.
I should make copies in the
It's fucking hot as balls in here right now.
Oh, I forgot to shave.
Hotter than balls.
Magma balls.
I gotta shave, man. There's the door on this shit. Okay, alright, here we go.
It says here you're pre-qualified for $25,000. Is that? Are you still living on Pocahontas? Yeah, man. I mean, it's obvious that this is such a good deal that you can't pass this up. $25,000. No. No.
These mushrooms are crazy.
What mushrooms? I didn't eat any mushrooms.
No. Put some in our tea. I saw Durs buy some off of Carl this morning. What the fuck? A free trip, right?
Oh.
All right, you guys, welcome back to another episode of These People Are Idiots. Here with Cyprian Ivanov again. And yeah, I think it's been a minute since we sat down. The last episode was with you and Eliza, and I've just been kind of taking the last month to have a couple conversations here and there, catch up on some editing, but I feel like I got some R&R in, and kind of. And yeah, what's been going on in your world with the elections coming up?
Everybody's going crazy. So a lot of newspapers don't endorse a political candidate. For some reason, people might think that might bias their coverage. The Washington Post previously endorsed the Democrat, but Jeff Bezos decided they weren't going to endorse Kamala Harris this election.
I forgot that's under control of Bezos.
Oh yeah, he also bought what was it, Freshfields, one of the popular health food stores in the area. So he's basically trying to buy respectability by buying a newspaper, buying the places that rich people like to shop at. And he's discovered, oh God, the staff in this paper are idiots.
It's just like Lex Luthor figuring out that this is not all going to plan. Like, it's
Lex
yeah,
Luthor, Lex Luthor, when he learns that minimum wage workers aren't necessarily as motivated as salaried henchmen.
You know, it's like, as much as I hate the whole old white bald men thing, it's like, what comes to this fuck? But I mean, that was a smart move on this part. I mean, other than the obvious, what do you think were his reasons for not endorsing?
Frankly, I think Jeff Bezos is out for Jeff Bezos. Whatever else he says, his primary interest is himself. He's shown no signs of any larger goal for society or idealism. It's basically been have a hot wife, have lots of luxuries, and enjoy his power.
Yeah, because like, come to think of it, Jeff Bezos doesn't really tout a utopia. Bill Gates touts a utopia. Elon Musk touts a utopia. Jeff Bezos just keeps building Amazon warehouses.
With conditions that are not exactly the most pleasant. And Amazon has a reputation for shady business practices. They are probably...
I think it was Amazon. Sorry.
They are probably the least ideologically motivated billionaire. And they're also probably the most needing of social respectability, because let's remember, Amazon is basically a fancy mail order company.
Yeah.
That doesn't buy a lot of respect in billionaire circles. Nearly going to space, that's nice, but the people there probably already don't care that much about it.
They're like, cool, so you sell us our shit. Great.
Yeah. At those levels of power, the ones that he both wants friends in and the ones that he is vulnerable to because politics, they don't really respect him because he's a businessman. So he needs something more. Oh, let's go with art. Let's buy little bits of the Lord of the Rings IP and make a show based on it. That didn't turn out so well. Rings of Power got mocked.
Did you watch it at all? I personally didn't watch any of it. I saw the trailers and I saw a shit ton of like bearded lady dwarves and I was just like, oh, this is what we're doing.
They hired...
Which I guess is canon, but like...
They hired a competent Tolkien scholar who basically said, no, none of this is according to the lore. This isn't right. And they fired him and did their own thing, so.
And the excuses for it, too. I love my husband to death, but that's one of the arguments that we have occasionally when it gets brought up. He's like, well, you know, the times, and it was actually like this in the book. And I'm just looking at him like, don't you make excuses for this bullshit. And it's all in good fun, obviously. He's not as plugged into this shit as I am, but I'm just like, no, there's just something about this that's just... I mean, looking at the new Rings of Power trailer, it looked just like The Acolyte. It had all the colors and the crappy effects and the lines about power. There's always a tagline about power in these new shows. Always. Who wields the power?
I mean, the people who most believe that power is important are also the most motivated to grasp it. So then, Washington, D.C. is probably the big hub of the people who can crush Jeff Bezos like a bug. How does he influence them? Well, he could pay secretive lobbyists tens of millions of dollars, but that might blow back negatively because a lot of people don't like bribery. So what does he have? There's a Washington Post. Their incompetent management drove them into the fiscal ground. He can buy it cheap and try to turn and accept that he's going to lose money on it, but it's going to buy him political cover to keep on making money. But the people he hired ended up being dumber than the last bunch.
Yeah, well, fun fact for the stuff that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. I've actually done surveys for the Washington Post, and I can tell you what the people they hire are like. It's not great.
They're basically a joke even within DC. Now, the progressive liberals who believe everything say, well, the problem with them is that they don't have enough local news coverage. I think people read the Washington Post for local news. No. People read it for national news, political news, and they suck at it. And that's why they've been losing people steadily.
It's just completely demolished from the inside. You know, like I know about we all know how the journalist and how all the mainstream media goes, but like polls. We should get into the polls thing because I feel like this is a great bridge. Like polls are something that for a long time in America were so vital to the media. You could watch some old like just old news footage and they start talking about the polls and what the polls are saying. You're like, I believe that shit. I bet there's some stuff going on behind the scenes, but I believe it a lot. But I went back to my job as a polling interviewer after I got fired from my last job. So I've been working Kamala Harris's approval polls, and the two mainstream media companies or newspaper outlets or whatever that we do business with is NBC and the Washington Post. Oh. I don't think I've had a Washington Post let's go around, but doing a little bit of internal work, you know. It was kind of a rebound job because I knew it was election season. I was like, fuck, I lost my job. I need some money. They're always hiring, and I got a job within a couple of days. So I've gotten to see polling. This is my fourth time being there. I worked there twice prior to COVID, once during COVID from home. And now I'm back. And the reason I'm feeling comfortable saying this is because I'm actually leaving in a couple days because after election season dries up, it just kind of fades off and I have another gig lined up. So I won't be there anymore. But I really want to talk about this before election because this is fucking funny. I wanted to know going in what the difference was, what I could learn. What good lessons can I get from the woke? That's one thing I wanted. I was like, okay, I have so much hatred in my heart for these fucking rainbow haired, ear wearing motherfuckers. Let's try to settle down and let's try to see the good in people. And I want to say that the management at this place, as far as people go, very solid, very kind. A lot of them have been there forever. A lot of them were interviewers themselves and actually worked with my husband there like 10 plus years ago because it's a town job. All the kids in Eugene, Oregon that I'm telling you guys about, they have worked at this place at least once doing political polling. It is the town factory's job outside of the oatmeal factory. Everybody has worked here. And I'm trying to think of where to start fucking first. We'll start with the decorations. I knew I was going into Antifa territory. Definitely Antifa stuff. There's a Trantifa flag on the back door and a sticker that says "Stop Transphobic Action," and I think it spells the action with a K. When I first got in there, there was magnets in one of the break rooms, and they spelled like "ACAB" and "fuck the police," like the little play color magnets. There's a transsexual manifesto hanging in one of the cubicles. There's trans. All are welcome here. All are welcome here. You will pronounce Kamala Harris's name correctly. Signs hanging up all over the place. You know, all the hot button issues. Everybody has a sign for something, and it's like an artistic environment, right? Like everybody's encouraged to like get a little creative, which admittedly I've done. I have a couple superhero sketches I put up on my desk, and I'm like, this is my desk. This is where my Superman goes. But some of the stuff they put up is just like basically communistic. When I worked there during COVID, one of our check-in options, it was because you have to like call in before or check in about an hour before your scheduled time so you can get on the clock because they can't take everybody all the time because it's a limited job. So first come, first serve, essentially. We could check in with a communist hammer and sickle during COVID because we were operating through the Discord, and that's how we would acknowledge what was going on. There were other options too. There was Punisher symbols, which I think only one person used for a short time. All the different emojis you could react with, but a lot of the times people were responding with the communist hammer and sickle to check into work. And oh man, there's differences now. During the Trump era, they were ravenous. If someone did any sort of microaggression or had a racial infraction or didn't gender someone right, it was a lynch mob. The entire office was on it. Everybody would be talking about it when they're going out smoking. There is no more fight left in management. I'm sitting there. I told you about the woman I work with who she's a tongue talker, and she's going off about fire raining from the sky the other day in the parking lot, like the heavens have opened up and God has fallen from heaven and he's going to fall through the crust in the earth and Satan's going to climb his way out. And she's screaming this from the parking lot in front of the poles. And she's, anytime she starts to come down, she will literally tell us and scream at the top of her lungs in the office, "I'm coming down now." We'll begin to start screaming. Most of the days it's Crazy Train on repeat. She's screaming Crazy Train. And the other day she gets a call from somebody, right? Because everything going on in her booth or her cubicle all the way on the other side of the room. I'm not sitting next to this woman. Everything is so animated that you can picture every conversation. So just sitting there, and then you hear, "Fine, maybe we'll give you a call back and someone who could speak your language." And she hangs up. And then she's like, as loud as she can for the entire office, to where all the managers could definitely hear her. And there was someone walking by. She's just sitting there like, "Wonder what fucking language he spoke." Hi, how are ya? Hi, how are ya? Hi, how are ya? The entire office could hear this. All those rainbow-haired managers, the one coming in the dogtail in the ears, and all of the gender ideologues, no one says anything. They will be swearing at respondents. They will be exiting out of calls. They will schedule revenge callbacks for people who tell them, "Don't call me back." They will literally scream, "Call back," and they'll have them call them back like 5 minutes later just to fucking piss them off. The NBC polls for Kamala Harris's approval rating, a lot of that's coming out of New York. We're calling a lot of New Yorkers who, from what I gathered, were mostly Democrats. And I'm not giving out anyone's personal information, names here. If there are any NDAs associated with this job, I was never given any. There's no training. It's a daycare center where a fentanyl addict was literally unable to keep up with the training the entire time, scraping his face bloody, and he was employed there for a month and a half. They are openly using fentanyl in the office. And, oh my God. So Kamala Harris's approval rating, there's so much with this. We will call New York, mostly Democrats, at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, their time. How do you think a New Yorker is going to respond when you call their home phone at 9 o'clock at night? Saying, "Do you want to do a survey with us today?"
Irritation, of course.
"You fucking punk ass faggot, you woke up my fucking kids, you motherfucker." Most of the job is taking verbal abuse and getting a couple of surveys throughout the days because everybody thinks you're a telemarketer. Polls. I've seen so many people on YouTube. Kamala Harris's approval ratings. Kamala Harris's approval ratings. Kamala Harris's approval ratings. There is two things you need to know about polling right now. That is the major change that I feel like people should know. The most staunch Democrats that I will interview who say fuck Trump through and through, they'll get murderous on the phone. You just got to kind of let them. You just stick to your script. When it comes to immigration and trans issues, in my estimation, about 90% of my respondents, it goes from all the way left to either middle ground or no, that is completely an issue. Immigration and trans issues, they are moving away from because they're seeing that there's a hole there. Past that, the cult set mentality, when I first worked there, the Trump supporters, for all my love of conservatives and Republicans in the modern era, a lot of them were dicks. And I think we can all agree with that. A lot of Trump supporters in the beginning were very much, they wanted to flaunt it, right? They wanted to say, fuck you, especially if you're someone like me from the media. You just got this ravenous fuck you shit. The Trump supporters are so fucking nice now, for the most part. And if someone answers the phone and they're like, "So 2024, it's technically against the rules," I'm like, "Hey man, I heard that. You want to put it to a survey?" And that usually de-escalates things. You're supposed to remain unbiased, but sometimes it's just like, man, I'm bored. You just want to fucking do one of these things or what? God, I forgot where I was going with that, but it's just, I feel like I gave you a lot to unpack. There's what are your thoughts on this?
It is. There was a book written in the 1950s, How to Lie with Statistics, and one of one of the basic things was that people had used to rely on polling as a way to figure out what people thought without a regular election. And then people found a way to manipulate those polls. Oh, we're only going to sample these people. We're going to ask misleading questions, yada, yada, yada. But there was still a lot of hope that polling would allow people to act without the time delay of a regular election. So in the 1990s, Clinton said, yes, I constantly watch the polls. I decide what I should do based on polls. It was an appeal to the idea that by how people voted in polls, they could steer government without just waiting 2 years to make a decision. Because there was still a lot of faith that, okay, there's going to be misleading polls and whatnot, but they're still going to be mostly realistic, right? That basically went out the window by the time a lot of social pressure was exerted around 2007, 2008. So polls used to be considered a great thing, and now professional people in politics basically ignore them. Formal polls, people now have to spend a lot of time investigating, was this a real poll, or was this a poll designed to get a result to either demoralize people, puff people up, try to sway people's opinion? Are you actually getting their views, or are you getting something that's used to try to distort people's views?
Yeah, and I'll do both in the same day, because the thing with polling is, well, people don't understand whenever they're yelling at me about push polling, because I get when it's a push poll and I get when it's steered, but also the thing with polling is anybody can read it. So as the polling viewer, the interviewer, right, my job's to remain unbiased. The reason I call the reading videos on my channel reading verbatim is because that's what they tell you to do from the get-go. You read this script verbatim, you do not deviate. You do it like you're reading a high school quiz out to your class, and you get the responses, and you don't let them deviate. And if they talk, you just sit there and let them ramble and go, I understand, I understand, I understand. Use that word a million times a day. But no, these polls, half of them, I'm really starting to wonder if some of them are written with AI, with some of the grammar that's coming in. But, you know, I've noticed before doing polls, and nothing recently, I guess kind of recently, but depending on, say, someone's race or someone's sexuality, certain things will change. And sometimes that'll be simple as, like, minor things, but enough to where you can kind of see what they're doing psychologically. Like, certain people will have, like, do you approve, disapprove, something, 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 and it'll give you a certain order. If you're talking with a certain race or a certain sex, it'll, like, reverse the order, almost like it's wanting you to lead with a certain response. So that way they'll give it to you right off the bat, if that makes sense. Oh man, I mean, we've had some that are just fucking horrible, but also a big problem too is that the crowd they hire. So this is, and when I say this, I'm not saying this to slam anybody, because everybody deserves a place to work. Everybody deserves a place to work. Everybody needs a job. It does not matter how many limbs you have, what you have gone through. Short of being a child molester and a murderer, like, there should be work for everybody, no matter what color you are, no matter what race, sexuality. Even if you're non-binary, you deserve a job. But the makeup of this office is 90% trans. I'd go as far as to say maybe 2 or 3% actually transsexual individuals. Non-binary people, people who identify as animals. People come in with the tails and the ears. One of our managers actually does, but I want to say on that one, I actually really love this person, and they were friends with my husband for a while, and there's no personal connection, but he is genuinely one of the sweetest people in the office, so I give him the ears and the tails. But these other kids that are coming in, they're identifying as wild ass shit. You have the Antifa crowd, you have anarchists, you have homeless people that are literally, like, sleeping outside the building and then coming in for work, which, again, everybody deserves a job, but they are not filtering who is doing this. And there's actually a sign on the front door that makes very clear, people come in and blend in with our staff all the time. Please make sure to do X, Y, and Z. So our polling firm literally tells us on our front door, anybody can walk in at any given moment and just blend in with the staff. red flags there. There's 4 people there who are missing an arm or don't have arms. There's or missing a leg or something like that. They're going for a certain type of people, disabled, LGBT, or quite frankly, drug addicted in a lot of cases because they want to help give them a foot up. But what you're doing is you're bringing in tweakers to a job where they're getting told "fuck you" a million times a day. And now this is the biggest difference that I've noticed from the last 3 times I've worked there. When you came in, even if I came in a second or third time, they're like, we still want to make sure that you can type the amount that you say, and we want to make sure that you can read a script. And they'll sit there with you, read this script, type this out. Yay, you can do these things. There are no longer any requirements for reading or typing skills coming in. So when we were in the trading room, they would have us, like they would do popcorn reading, right? Like you're in high school. Again, this is all like you're back in school. And they're like, okay, this person's going to read this paragraph, this person's going to read the next paragraph, this person's going to read the next paragraph, and we're just going to practice a couple of times. Cyprian, it took a fucking hour to get through 20 people. It was bad. The fentanyl guy, got a book here? Show you how he reads. Go randomly into the Psalms of Solomon. Now, remember the rules going into this. Do not read the commas. Do not read literally the parts that say do not read. This guy was reading do not read. Anyways. Oh, Lord God, comma, I will praise. No, you're doing good. Just keep going. Just keep going. It's just fucking hard because no, you're fine. You're fine. Again.
Do you think it's sort of
I will praise, and this just went on, dude.
Do you think the guy couldn't read because of the drugs, or he just couldn't read and he used drugs?
Yeah, both, and they're not filtering it out at all. And then again, this guy had his job for a month and a half, and he was walking around the office pacing back and forth like a fucking shooter, and he's like scraping his flesh off. We have a typing job, blood on his fingers. I would walk into the bathroom right after he's done using, and there's fucking shit smeared all over the toilet and blood all the fucking time. I finally met our janitor. Our janitor is named after an insect, and the first time that they ever met me, said, I love this job because it's the only job I can do LSD at every day. Yeah, you can't do LSD every day. But I see that they've had other drugs too. But their eyes were bugging out. This person walks around with paper towels and gloves and talks to people and leaves. There was a point I couldn't go into the bathroom anymore because I've never really smelt ammonia, but I imagine that's what it smelled like. It was just piss layered on piss, layered on piss, mold layered on mold, and shit layered on shit. And this office has never gotten clean. I found blood splatter on my desk from where people are doing cocaine. I can get any drug I want at this place, which is another this I don't really associate with people here other than the ex-Antifa guy who worked there for a fucking day before he was smart to realize this is fucking bullshit. Which I'm grateful for it in that regards because we would have met otherwise. But it's just like, this is polling. They tell us we are the #1 on the West Coast. Cyprian, I can go to work dressed like this. This is not a suit and tie job. I can go and work.
Whatever. If you're on the phone and if you don't have to look professional, fine. But you should not have biohazards in the bathroom or biohazards at the desk.
Mm-hmm.
You should have people who can read doing a job that involves reading. You should not have people engage in angry conversations with respondents when you're trying to get accurate data.
And that's all they do. It's like you're sitting in a TV show and you can either hate it or you can enjoy it or you can learn from it. I'm trying to take it from an educational standpoint. Is coming back to this place and making money ethical? From my perspective, I think I've done a lot more unethical things, and at least I can run my mouth about it now because there's no consequences. I even tried to tell one of my managers about the podcast just to see if it generated interest and to kind of pick their mind. This fucking conversation, nobody's gonna fucking report this shit. Again, I don't know if I signed any NDAs, and if I did, fuck them. Because we are manipulating the American people and creating false outcomes. And when I went into this, I really was thinking, conspiracy. But all your lessons that you taught me along the way, I'm like, no, this is fucking full-blown incompetence. This, at least right here, is not a conspiracy. This is retardation through and through. Can't wait for my last check. It's the last time I'm ever going to fucking do it.
Are there tort lawyers in town?
I imagine Antifa showed up there too many times. It's actually ominous because in front of the federal court building now, after the protest, they built these giant high-rise apartments that bend in a way that you look at it and you're like, that's a tactical advantage through and through. It actually wraps like a band to where there's balconies on every edge. And I'm like, oh yeah, some shit pops off here again. They're using these buildings. Same with the local hospital. They got shut down up the road. But no justice is being served in Eugene, Oregon. Oh, again, it's like from the fucking pedophiles to the fucking cultists to the fucking anarchists to the fucking tweakers to everything under the sun. If it is not ideological and it does not fit what needs to be punished, good luck, citizens. Enjoy Gotham. Try not to get stabbed at fucking work. I walked out of work the other day. I didn't almost get stabbed, but I'm literally looking across the street at the stores, and a dude has his pants pulled down, and he's whacking his fucking cock by the dumpster. Shoots one off, walks away.
Oh, great. Those working conditions, I mean, the normal recourse is employees suing the place. That's the normal way to prevent that kind of breakdown.
Well, you won't get that because look at the people they brought in. They brought in the gender ideologues to where they're protected. They can be trans, they can be whatever the fuck they want, and they'll be welcome. There's no judgment. All the trans signs are everywhere. Fun fact: the men's restroom has one sign for trans people in respect. The women's restroom I haven't got close to because it's in the corner, and I'm not trying to make anyone further uncomfortable. But it seems to have 3 signs in regards to safety and how you treat people.
Okay.
So long as they feel protected and like they're in a club, why the fuck would they sue? And even if they wanted to, half of them don't have the capability. At one point they're making $13.75. At least they're making $15.50 now. But like, again, this is a job where if you don't call in time, you ain't going to work. And when you're sitting there fucking hungover, drunk from the party the night before, which they all fucking are. You can't make this shit up.
Hopefully nobody got sick from the bathrooms.
I'm trying not to.
Fuck.
I literally had to go in there, and even if someone's in there, I have to like put my shirt over my nose, or I'll just walk downstairs to get away from it all. But then you feel like you're walking into some human trafficking bathroom. You walk down a dark hall, and the lights are flickering, and nothing's barely on.
Yay.
I will say in the past, though, I've gotten some of the best drugs ever from that place.
Well, so much for safe and hygienic working conditions being a goal of the labor movement. God.
I'm so glad I was able to get that off my chest. I was like, maybe I should wait till after the polls, but after the hi-ho, I was like, if I'm not going to get accountability at work, I'm not going to get accountability on my free time. I'm fine. And I'm not going to give the name of the business. I'll tell everybody what we tell the respondents when they ask who we are, and we don't give them our business name. We're with Call Research, and we're based out of Orem, Utah. You can dig from there. Yeah, we don't even tell them what company we're with. And actually, this is how I feel like it's a scam. The founder of the place, his name is Robert Call.
What?
Yeah, it's like Robert or Roger Call, I guess is the name of the founder of this. I'm like, are you fucking with me? Someone told me that the other day. I'm like, it's fucking not. It felt like the equivalent of when I learned that HEB stands for Herbert E. Butts. Like, it's just like, this can't be real. But I work at a cartoon sitcom, so it's like Workaholics. If you've ever seen that show on Comedy Central, look up some scenes from Workaholics and just the shit that goes on in the office. It is full-blown Workaholics. And it's a nice job because when that's all going on, I can sit there and I can read my Star Wars books, or I can work on writing, or I can work on my projects and get ready for the channel, basically. It's been really good for that. But, like, there's people that'll sit there, they'll knit, they'll paint. I said, I used to work there, and there was people that were doing lines off the desk. I was actually walking out of the office a couple weeks ago, and I just happened to look over this guy because I was just like, oh, this is my old dial. This is the little shady corner I used to sit in. And as soon as I walk by, he like freaks out and jumps, and he like tries to cover his computer and click out of something, and I'm like, there's only two things on our computer we're allowed to click into: the server in which we operate the calls from and the dialer. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, and not even to mention the training, getting through everybody's gender, that was an extra 30, 40 minutes. That was a nightmare. I finally got to sit through a gender training. Not a gender training, just everybody training you on what their gender is. It finally got to the girl with the cat ears and the tail, and she's like, out of nowhere, out of the blue, she's like, so I just need everybody to know. She's non-binary, by the way, of course. But she's like, I need everybody to know. I walk around the cane with the office, I walk around with the cane sometimes, and I've had people tell me before that you are not disabled, and I just need you to know that just because my issue isn't happening all the time doesn't mean it's not a real thing. And I'm just sitting there looking at the cat ears, having just heard the they, them, and I'm just like, I don't think you're a cripple. You should tone down on that. There's some real fucking cripples out there. That guy ain't got no arms. And I just want to throw it out for, like, I'm not talking shit on, like, the limbs or the mentally feeble. Some people that genuinely are, like, mentally retarded, I don't care about using the word, I'm going to use it. People who are generally mentally retarded or who are missing limbs, they are some of the hardest working people in this office. Like, there are people with Down syndrome in this office who, even though they're struggling, and even though they're getting called nasty names on the fucking phone, they are pushing through. They are doing their fucking jobs. And, yeah, they might go to cry on break. There's been a couple times I'm just sitting there having a smoke, just like, hey, man, how you doing? You know, because, like, I'm not going around saying this things to people's faces. I'm not trying to put anybody down with this. It's to say, like, when you're in a position where the people missing their limbs and the people with genuine mental disabilities like this, that's this severe, when they can do their job better than the kids coming in or some of these adults or the different types of people they have coming in, I'm like, this is a problem. You're literally letting all of this surpass you. What is happening right now? It's insane, dude.
Yeah. I don't think I've really dealt with the most professional people in my work history, but what you're describing is just even worse. I would argue that those conditions are inhumane.
I smelled human shit coming up the stairs 2 days ago, man. You go up some stairs to get up to the office, and all the way up to the front desk, which thankfully I was sitting right outside the edge of. Dude, I thought I shat myself. It was so fucking prevalent. I'm just like squeezing my cheeks together, like, is this it? Did I fucking do? What the fuck is happening? Why is this following me? And no one said anything about it. Woman behind me is going off. My respondent thought I was Chinese. I just told him I was black and I was down with sucking cock. And I turned around and I said, will you shut the fuck up? And then I like walked away because the manager's desk was right next to the door. And I look at the guy who's sitting there not 10 feet away from this girl. I'm like, do you mind saying something to her? Well, what seems to be the problem? Do you not hear what's coming out of her mouth? I'll talk to her, but, you know, just for the future, we just really like our respondents to try and communicate with each other as a way of solving their grievances. That way things don't get tense like they are in this moment. And I'm just like, you fucking pompous faggot bitch. I didn't say it. I was screaming internally. I needed that job. But I just turned around and walked out, and I was like, fine. Fine. And I just bit my tongue for the rest of the day, and I think I actually scared her off because she didn't come back. Yeah, I'd like to see them try and fire me for this shit.
Well, if you have any questions about why our institutions are crumbling, this may be part of it.
Yep, that's why we need to get together the different worlds. I never thought a guy like me working in a place like this would be sitting with a guy like you over in DC. It's just like we need to have these worlds meet. Otherwise, we're never going to be aware of the existence. Again, most people are thinking suit and tie. No. They say, at this shop, we just want you to wear clothes. I have seen so many ass craps, nipples, fat folds, people coming dressed as fucking hookers that just got off the job, which for one or two of them, I do not doubt, because sex work is fully okay here. It's a woke zoo. It's a woke zoo. And I'll try to get some final pictures on my way out. The only one I've gotten so far, just because I didn't want to seem suspicious, was literally one that got posted about a week ago. And it was a sign up in the front. Let me read it. I have a flip phone, so the pictures I'm going to get aren't that great quality. And I'm not willing to get a fucking smartphone because I ain't giving into the beast like that. I prefer my track phone. Please don't clip your nails in the building. It's gross.
I can't see it,
damn it. I'll send the picture. But that's about as far as we've gotten with the sanitation issue. Do not clip your... And how I found out about that sign? Because I didn't know it walking down the stairs. The janitor, who is named after an insect, which is enough of a name for me not to give it, but just imagine any insect name you want, insert it, is freaking out outside. Where did that sign come from? Why did so-and-so put up that sign? Why is it there? What does it mean? The person who's been frying on acid supposed to cleaning our office has felt slighted. Like, her job is not being respected, and like she's not getting the respect she deserves. And I work my ass off. Why would you put a sign up like that? And I was like, what sign? And then I read that. I'm like,
oh dear.
The fucked up way I'm going to miss this town.
Well, you've got no shortage of horrifying stories.
Writing more. That's the thing with this job. I have so much time to write. Things are finally flying off my fingers. I think in the near future things are going to be great. Like, I've gotten the time to hone my skills because it's like, I mean, when you're in a situation like that, when you're in a fucking prison, when you're in a fucking whatever the fuck this is, you have to take something out of it. And if you got some free time to sharpen up on some of your skills,
well,
these people are idiots.
Well, I think I just fully understood why the Democrats have such a huge polling problem. Oh, I thought these policies were really popular. What's going on?
And to be fair, it's the Republicans too. And that's one thing that I just want everybody in your realm to know that this is what it is. Again, we are the best on the West Coast. Now, I've worked at a fucking gas station that said we had the cheapest cigarettes in town, where a pack of Mar Black Red 100s was $13. So I get that not every time they say that is going to be correct. But I also do not doubt that we are the best polling firm on the West Coast. Hope that building burns. Also, do not burn the building. And also, like I said, I just want to throw this out there. These people are not doing this deliberately. I think there's definitely probably people coming in and out that would occasionally do something stupid, like maybe they don't like what someone said about Trump, so they might switch something up. But I really went into this looking at it from every conspiratorial angle that I possibly could, and I have ruled incompetence, not conspiracy. If there is a conspiracy, it is far above these polling firms. These people are idiots. There's a lot of great people within it, but the culture that they now cultivate is incompetency. And that's what's happening. And oh God. Maybe I should start a fucking channel to find the other polling interviewers. I can do Antifa and pollers at the same time, and we can just create an army of people raising their voices.
I mean,
because it's just like, oh man.
I kind of see this as a feedback loop. People with bad family backgrounds sometimes become bad managers or bad workers, and that creates a horrible workplace. People in horrible workplaces oftentimes don't become good parents. And when it comes time to train a kid for what they're going to do in the future, if you've got a bad work background and if you've got a lack of good examples, it's very easy to raise them as a bad worker. And it just feeds on itself. It's a cycle.
Which is funny that you say that, because one of our trans people is talking to me about how they used to come in with their parents and actually sat in the cubicles while they were working. And, you know, it was a cute enough story, but this is coming from somebody who followed me into the bathroom and said, hey, don't worry, you can use the urinal. I don't have one of those. And I'm like, I haven't even said hello to you before. But then you followed up with, oh yeah, I've been in this building my entire life. And I'm just like, whoa, this person was like 20 plus.
20 plus, and their parents were with them.
No, their parents worked there when they were younger. So they weren't able to afford daycare, so the kid came to work, which I totally understand. My mom worked at a hearing aid company when I was a kid, and I would go in there with her. That's not to slam that, but to see the effect of what that does to someone over the course of their entire life.
I mean, that's not a horrible thing. I mean, parents have to look after kids, and presumably in the past it would have been a safer environment for kids.
Yeah.
But
people bring their dogs too.
But a lack of social skills suggests other problems.
Yeah. And I mean, they seem smart enough, and I've heard them do their surveys. They do it intelligent enough, but it's trans, so it's a whole character. Oh yeah, I also have one of these trans people as a not so secret admirer of mine, and that's been horrifying. Oh god, this person, pudgy Latino dude coming in these short, these tight daisy dresses and drooling. You can tell it's not trans, it's autism. Sometimes you can tell. Again, I'm autistic, but there's just been so many weird instances where this person just it's like that and is drooling, and then just approaches me and just starts getting real close and real uncomfortable. And there was a respondent about a week or two ago who was like, they are getting way too close. This is making me uncomfortable. I've asked them to back off. This person makes it a point to sit in the cubicle in front of mine. And I'm not gonna lie, there's occasion where if you haven't got a survey for 3 or 4 hours, your head's gonna start to nod a little bit and you're gonna doze off. And I wake up to the beat because it goes beep, and then you're in the survey. So then I can go, my name is George King. I'm calling with Paul Research. We can make up a fake name, which is another thing. That's another thing we'll get to. But yeah, no, essentially, so I nod out the other day and I look up because my head just kind of does a little bob, and he's just sitting there staring, drooling, dead-eyeing me over the cubicle, and then just drops back down real quick. And I was just like, what the so fucking cringy. And I was just like, who taught you to flirt? This is horrible. Oh man, and this is someone who will make up 2 different names. Both names have 2 different personalities.
Do they believe that they have multiple personalities?
I don't know this because I don't want to get to know this person, but I have been listening because it's right there. And I've just been kind of like I said, a lot of this is psychological observation that I've been going through and just kind of putting together the pieces of therapy and whatever that I've been listening to and observing it in the real world. And I think with him, it's essentially whenever he hasn't been berated and hasn't been screamed at, it's one name and that voice is a little bit higher and more cheerful. And then the other one sounds more like a middle-aged woman sound, you know, kind of with the voice training. It's a little more, I don't think I could do it. I'm not going to try. But the two different names and the two different voice types come out under different conditions, which is something I've also noticed with the other trans respondents too. There's a lot to learn in this place. And like I said, we can make up fake names, and a lot of the people, they're not slick with it. We had one guy come in, and whenever I asked the question, I'm like, hey, can we still make up a fake name so, you know, they're not saying fuck you, Ty Kingdom, me all day, you know? So, you know, I just have to see if I can do my intro right now off the top of my head. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Joseph King, and I'm calling you with Call Research. We're a national public opinion firm, and we're just doing a survey with folks in your area today, and we were wondering if you might be interested in participating. Something to that effect. See now, but that's a realistic name. The other names they come up with, the black guy who came in, who he did do his job and he did really well. He actually came in from a halfway house and he killed it. And I'm kind of sad that he left because he was actually doing his weight. But whenever he learned that, he's like, cool, I'm going to be Kobe Black. Every time someone would call, he's like, I'm Kobe Black, Call Research. And I'm like, dude, that's not going to fucking bite. Or people will name themselves after anime characters or movie characters and they think that they're being slick about it, but it's very obviously movie characters. My husband, whenever he used to work there 10 plus years ago, he said there was actually a respondent there who would name himself after the people around him. So he like used my husband's name and then he used the person's name next to him, and they eventually had to come and be like, dude, you can't be doing that. That's weird. But given that whole name situation and how much they can tinker with that identity, when like 90% of your office is trans, well, they're utilizing the workspace for social experimentation and exploring their gender, not the work. And that's not to say people can't have issues with their gender and explore gender dysphoria and explore their identity, but they integrate it into the workplace as a form of practice with people they know they will never have to see or talk to again.
Oh, great. Oh, that's
how much deeper the hell do you want to go?
I believe there's a famous phrase, what fresh hell is this?
Well, this one ain't fresh. This one's moldy and stanky. It smells like bad dreadlocks and unwashed armpits. I've been doing this for 2 months. That's also why I've had a lot of extra wear and tear on top of everything else I talked to about on camera and off with you. It's just like, this is how I'm making my money. And again, dropping out soon. So don't expect to catch me anywhere, you guys, but got my information and I'm bolting and I'm running my mouth like I do.
Okay, my thoughts are, one, those are inhumane working conditions. People should not have to worry about poop smeared in the bathroom. They should not have to worry about blood in their cubicle. They should not have to worry about drugged up people in the workplace.
Basic you doing all the managers are on drugs.
Basic employee safety. Now, in a normal environment, people would be able to sue anytime a major safety violation that violated regulations would happen.
What you're saying is I can get some extra movie money out of this shit. And fair working conditions, Man of the people, after all.
Normally, that's how things would work, but what you're describing in Oregon suggests it's not that simple.
No, especially after I told you of my last place of the OSHA violations, where they literally mailed me back a OSHA report with the things my manager had told me, like, oh my God, they just copied my manager's excuses and sent it back to me on an OSHA report. I was just like, really? You just took them at face value and walked away. We've been dealing with these conditions for 2 years.
This is why you have employment law attorneys. So they can find people who can, so they can find people who are employees of bad workplaces help them sue and get a cut of it.
Yeah, we don't have those signs hanging up. I'll actually take a picture of the billboard. It's all Planned Parenthood. It's where to get free contraception. It's free sex, respecting people's gender pronouns, local LGBTQ plus meetups, different pamphlets for different Democratic Party members. And that's on the corkboard outside of the manager's office. So I'll try to get a picture, but I can't.
Okay, there's not normally employment lawyer flyers in workplaces. That tends to be.
I thought it was like one of the things they post on a wall in like a restaurant, like "Know your rights." Like,
I mean, usually it's like somebody puts an ad on a bus, or they have an ad on a billboard, or they have an ad on TV.
1-800 sue them, basically.
Yeah. And that's what normally keeps those sorts of places following basic health and safety rules.
Yeah, something tells me that took a number of damage over COVID and BLM.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Eugene did not used to be this dirty. There was the dirty hippie element to it, but it was just like you're kind of like everyday TV, normal dirty hippie place, like people doing drums, people all colorful. Yeah, that guy smells, and yeah, his hair is funny, but what a nice time this is. What a weird place to be. Everything's at least functional. You know, they're out here doing their weird stuff. It's like all walks of life living together. And now, like you said, it's like, what fresh fucking hell is this?
Yippee.
I wish I had better
news, should not be working in those conditions because, okay, you've got people with Down syndrome, you've got people with autism, you've got people who are missing a few limbs. They've got special needs. And an unsafe environment is just going to be even harder for them to navigate. All right. The second issue is societal. If people aren't being basically professional, they're not necessarily going to get the accurate data needed. So if there is a very real poll where people actually need to know the results, they're not going to get the accurate results. So, and they might not realize how unprofessional the environment is. So they're going to account for, okay, these things might bias the results, but we have no idea about this big, huge employee problem that will bias the results. So we think people want this, and we're confident because we've adjusted for these biases. And now people are overconfident in their data and they assume, oh, the public really does want this. We should do this.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm willing to be honest about it because I mean, again, what the fuck's gonna happen? I probably skewed a lot of the fucking Trump polls because, like, when I was sitting there during COVID, I was sitting there in my room. You've probably seen pictures of my studio. I showed them in one of the Larry videos, but like, you know, I'm just surrounded by fucking chaos and all the entertainment in the world. And I would just have bottles of Oldie or Mickey's or whatever I happened to be drinking at that time. Sometimes I'd even be drinking liquor at my desk. You know, there were some days I went in there on fucking ketamine. I did fucking cocaine the fucking night before, or, you know, because how does an alcoholic chase a hangover? You get fucking more alcohol in you. I couldn't take my morning shit in the morning without getting drunk. Like, literally, it was go to the fridge, get your beer, pull up your phone, take a shit, turn on some Young Turks, and get wasted. A lot of Young Turks in that era. But yeah, I was just surrounded by fucking bottles. And the reason I had to leave that place, I think I might have actually technically quit. I don't know if I was fired. I think I might have made the choice to leave. But they're like, dude, you just blew through 60 surveys. You can't do this. He's like, you need to sign out now. You're done for the day. Because anytime, hello, click, hello, click, hello, click. Oh yeah, I'm guilty of this shit myself. And now that I'm in it and knowing that I'm not doing this shit anymore, I am trying to do my best to give them the full data. You know, yeah, I said I've occasionally nodded off, but like I get right back up to perky. I don't want to fuck this up anymore because it does bug me that this shit's gotten fucked up and that I have that prior experience with it. But I mean, even all that, they took me back without questioning it. Welcome back. Good to see you again. And technically, I'm grandfathered into the woke because they don't know my political affiliations now. All they know is they remember me from the past. They partied with my husband back in the days, and they all went to the raves together and did all the ecstasy and Molly in the world. And so they wouldn't think of me as someone being around observing this shit and just running my mouth about it. So people are generally kind of open when they do talk, but it's just.
Well,
on this episode of my confessional.
there's more than one layer of incompetence in this situation, but egads, that's a badly run place.
So does TikTok, dude. That fucking TikTok they try to get everybody shut down on. They're like, don't look at this. This isn't happening. And you just look at all these rooms with all these rainbows and all these crazy individuals, and it looks like a movie. Oh yeah, these places are real. They're real as a fucking heart attack.
Frickin' yay. Yeah. I mean, look, I understand that there's people who are political fanatics. What I still have trouble imagining is just how incompetent and unsafe they're allowing things to be.
I mentioned the dogs, right?
What? I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's some people who've occasionally brought in their dogs. Some of the homeless people. They'll have their dogs sitting next to the desk on the leash. There's been dogs that'll just walk through the office, and everyone's like, "Oh!" And usually I'd be like, "Oh," too. And there was one I was kind of like, "Bye," but as soon as I walked away, I'm like, "Why?" All inclusive. You will not be judged here. We're gonna help get you a leg up.
And let's be fair, a lot of homeless people get dogs for their own protection and emotional health. So I'm not against people having a dog with them.
Yeah.
And I have seen dogs that are fine in an office environment. That's not all dogs.
And to be fair, I can't think of one disturbance on these dogs. These dogs were better than the people.
Oh, good.
But the sight of dogs in an office on top of all of this other shit, it's just kind of like the cherry on the cake where it's like, so we've gone from being a metaphorical woke zoo to we are now becoming a literal zoo. Tonight on NBC News, what Americans think about Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, me back at my cubicle, trying not to put my head through a fucking computer.
What you're describing,
I'm not even ashamed to say. Sorry.
Again, people in DC don't normally understand that kind of workplace. I mean, there's this reputation that people on the East Coast are much more uptight. But there is still that uptightness might actually result in somewhat better competence when it comes to bottom level work.
Well, and I mean, that's something I kind of like even notice in myself is like the harder I make myself to not allowing certain elements to come in and fuck with me and then trying to hold my own and to keep my own protections. I realize that sometimes I kind of come off like a dick. And I'm realizing, wait, I'm thinking of all these other people in my life where I thought they were being a dick. And then I think of the way that I'm kind of coming off now. And I'm like, how is it just fucking protect themselves from that fucking dumbass? You know, there's something to structure.
Judgment is sometimes a good thing. Not always a good thing, but sometimes a good thing. And it requires wisdom and experience to know the difference. And I'm not convinced that the sort of people who go all in on a political ideology are going to be the people who know the difference.
It is nice, though, you know, I will say, even the lefties they're all sitting there like, huh, I might not be the ripest fruit in the basket, but something feels weird about these surveys, huh? And there's been a couple times I just break into an Alex Jones style rant about all the horrors we're doing to society, and then they look at me like I'm crazy, and they do the walk away thing, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going back to my ciggy.
I mean, to give you a bit of a perspective, there was one woman who early 30s worked in a political environment. Let's remember DC. If you work for, say, a big union, a local corporate headquarters, etc., you have to understand the political environment you're in. So if you are very much a Democrat and you're trying to be supportive of the Democratic Party, rah, 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 they're helping our union, all great. And you have to decide what faction to support, because quite often the big fights are not just between the two parties, but within the party. So you've got the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, the moderate wing of the Democratic Party. They're not all the same.
Yeah.
So it becomes a matter of, okay, which faction do we swing all our support behind? Let's look at the polling data. Okay, we think, okay, there's a lot of people vocal online about the dangerous effects of trans care for kids, but is this actually popular or unpopular in the general population? Let's go to a survey.
And again, I'll say on trans issues and immigration, that's actually numbers you can actually probably trust. Because like I said, most Democrats I talk to when it comes to trans and immigration, they're all kind of like, and they're putting down the same answers as the Republicans. So if there are to be accurate numbers coming out of that, I would look there.
And was that the case 5 years ago? Because that's when a lot of these decisions were being made.
Hell no. So much fucking different, dude. I'm actually grateful I've gotten to see both eras of polling and what it did and what it can do, because like I said, it's almost sad to see how much of the fight's been taken out of them. It's like I would be so fucking annoyed if I had to go around, making sure I always said they, them, always respecting everything, what's that American flag mean? Why are you wearing your militia shirt today? That probably would have been the environment back then. But it's almost sad that there's no fight left in them. And I have to think is it because they're realizing that they don't believe in anything? And they're sitting there, or that at least the things that a lot of what they believe are, I think they might be sitting with it and they might be afraid to act on it now, even to a large extent, which I think is healthy. But also, like I said, you have this woman screaming racial obscenities in the office. It's like, if ever there was a time for the woke one in the office to step up and say, please step into the back office, it very much would have been then, or on multiple other occasions.
I mean, look, I'm definitely not woke. And as a stereotypical person from the Balkans, I have views of Bulgarians I don't announce. More for comedic purposes than anything else, but I'm not going to go scream at someone on the phone or hurl racial epithets. That's unprofessional. Whether I'm being comedically racist or seriously racist, that's not okay. Plenty of non-woke managers would have yanked her out and told her to knock it off.
And the reality...
That's not just a loss of faith in wokeness. That's a loss in faith in their role as a manager.
Psychological crippling. Like I said, all like 80% of the managers that are there now were there during the Trump era. We're there when my husband was a manager. Like, oh, hey, good to see you again. And I kind of feel bad because like they know my name and I don't know some of theirs. And that's, I mean, what do you expect when you're employing drunks and druggies? But yeah, dude, it's like, this is daycare. And if this ever were to get out, say that I put this out tonight and I wake up in the morning and Fox News has gotten a hold of this and they're like, holy shit, not did we find an ex-Antifa guy, but he's also been working the Kamala Harris polls. Wait till you hear everything he has to say. What the hell do you think their reaction would be to me? How many times did he say retard? How many times did he make a racial joke? How many times did he say that over the course of that? You can't trust him because he's a bigot. But meanwhile, they're letting all this go by. That's the reality of what it would be. They would send some of their representatives, perhaps even some people I know, to speak out and say, you know what, this is what you need to know about this guy. You know, I'm actually friends with a guy who used to be friends with this guy, and this is what they have to say. And they would, in this hypothetical, dance around the situation, just like it does every time this type of shit happens in this country. And
they're deflecting from the problem.
And they know that it's purely democratic. You know, whenever I was sitting there in training, they're like, you know, it's Eugene, Oregon. It's not hard to tell what everybody's politics are. Ha, ha, ha. But, you know, in my head, when I'm going around the office, this guy's been a manager like 7 years, I think. I just like to imagine that there's at least one person on the other side somewhere in this room. Even though it's improbable, I like to think that there's one more Republican in this office. And I'm sitting in the training room, and ex-Antifa guy who was there with me in the training room, that's one of the things he noticed too, that we were starting up a conversation about, because that's whenever he was starting to realize, he's like, am I safe here? He's like, can I trust these people? And I said, dude, in all honesty, probably not. I said, go walk out the back door right now. Go look at that Trantifa sticker and tell me. With all the shit that this guy was going through and everything that I said in the past, like, I got to share that day with him in the training. And he was like, what the fuck? Alarms going off. Not only am I not a fucking idiot and I need actual fucking money, but this is racist and culty as shit. I'm like, yeah. Welcome to Venture Data. I just knew what I was getting back into. Like, I'm only surprised that it got worse.
Oh dear. I will say DC is about 92 or so percent registered Democrats. However, some people are basically registered Democrat because that's the only way they can have an effective vote, because the Democratic primary runs everything. So I've gone to events that said, hey, I'm the rare Republican. That generally gets a laugh. And yet afterwards, I have a bunch of people shake my hand. They're probably registered Democrats, but they don't think like a normal Democrat. Because it's the only party in town, so they're going to do it.
I think that's a lot of the respondents we talked to too, because if I were to generalize on most of the Democratic respondents, which is unfortunately not that hard right now, in the same way it wouldn't be hard to generalize about most Trump supporters we were talking to back in the day. This is one thing I like to do. So, you know, we'll usually have one box that we have to type out something. This is where the interviewer part of the job comes in, where we actually do an interviewing, and we'll ask them the question, and what do you think about, we'll just make up a name of an actor. We'll say James Woods. What do you think about James Woods? Well, I hate him because he's fucking James Woods. Okay, so I type out, I hate him because he's James fucking Woods. So one thing I like to do, what can you tell me about his policies that you don't like? I'll do that question anytime they do something like that. Well, I just really don't like him and his attitude and the things that the news are saying about him. And I just get a bad vibe all around from him. And I just can't quite put my finger on it 90% of the time. Again, we're using very high numbers today for a reason. And that's the question I always get them stumped on. I've had people hang up on me for that fucking question. Because it's a genuine question. As the interviewer, I would like to know for this, what about these policies do you find negative? Can you please explain that to me a little bit more in depth? The Republicans typically can. And the Republicans, or the Democrats that typically do, are typically pretty nuanced. Because again, I'm thinking the cult thinkers here. I'm realizing that the cult mentality, because there was a MAGA cult mentality for a while there around Trump at the beginning, and to varying degrees still are. And I'm not shy from admitting that. You know, they make good music. I listen to it all the fucking time. But the overall mass cult psychological effect that was on Trump supporters has fully shifted the other way. That mentality is going over there because the Trump supporters don't need it anymore. They had their party, now they're ready to work. And now these people are fucking freaking out. And they're screaming about how I'm the fucking media and I'm the fucking devil. And you mainstream media bastards can burn in fucking hell for what you said about Kamala Harris. And I'm like, funny how that fucking works, huh?
The irony is that a lot of these mainstream media reporters, they actually spend a lot of their time sitting on damaging stories. So if they're losing market share, they're losing money, they're losing jobs because they're hiding problems for the Democrats.
Yeah, and that's represented in the office because we used to have 2 floors. The furniture store downtown bought up the first floor. All those cubicles are fucking gone now. It's downsized completely. Like, it's literally shrinking. Like, they're able to pay you more in a business that's slowly shrinking. And, you know, that means they can have less responders on. I mean, there was a day or two this week where I called 5 minutes too late because I fucking forgot my alarm went off. And I was like, shit, I better call them. Huh? Shift's already filled for the day. Thankfully, one of those days I was able to convince them that ask them if I can come in. I was like, can I call back when the shift calls if someone drops out? And the manager was like, shocked over the phone. She's like, yeah, if you actually want to come into work and work that bad, I guess we can open up one more computer for you. As if she had never heard someone ask for extra hours. Or rather, my allotted hours, I think it was. But she's like, oh, you don't want to go out and party? Well, sure, I guess we could have someone working here at our place of work. Thank you. And she's the sweetest out of the bunch, too. I don't want to give her any grief because she's probably more salvageable than anybody. Like,
oh, God.
These managers are nice. They're not dicks. But they're not managers. They're a different kind of worker within the office, but we really don't have any managers. We have one that comes out of the office, and she's actually probably, I mean, I'm not going to do it on my downtime, but in the office, yeah, she's the only one I'll probably say they, them pronouns about because she's always been in the office. She's always been super sweet. She's always been super understanding. There was times I had complete breakdowns where she sat there. She worked with me through it. She's like, can you get back to work? And I'm like, you know what? I can. Thank you very much for that. So when I'm around her, she's one of the only ones that gets they, them for me. These aren't bad people, but they aren't management material. They're no better than us, and they'll tell us as much. You know, because I can see behind, they call it the caddy station, and all the managers are sitting in a row on their desk. They're all playing on Discord and TikTok. You know, one guy's sitting there watching fucking, I was going to say bukkake videos, that's wrong. Mukbang videos. You know, watching people shove burgers down their face. Other one's playing on Discord. Someone else is playing on their phone, you know. They're doing the same thing we're doing.
So yeah, it's basically an adult kindergarten.
I literally, every time I come into work, the walls are even the same color. You know, my mom used to go to the gym when I was a kid, and whenever she'd go to the gym, I'd go in the little daycare room, and all the kids would beat the fucking shit out of each other and wipe their boogers on the balls and shit on the toilets and drive the fucking teacher insane and scream racial obscenities. We got those out young where I'm from. And yeah, I look at this now and I look at that and I'm like, it's no different. Even the smell's the same. The only thing that's missing is Dora Explorer's not on the TV.
Oh, God.
Here, let me go to the restroom just real quick. I'll be right back. Sorry, my husband texted me. He's like, tell Cyprian, even though I don't know him, good luck on the election. I was like, I will.
Thank you.
Tell me something.
There's the fear that people have become so coddled that the only way they feel they have some sense of agency in the world is by tearing it down.
Yeah.
There was a There was a man back in the era of industrialization. He took a job in a factory because that was the only way to. Well, I mean, he could have made money in other ways, but the factory job was better paying. Every 10th or so time, a piece of sheet metal would come down the assembly line. He would take it, smash it with a hammer, have a dent, and he would feel a certain sense of satisfaction when all the engineers would come by trying to figure out what caused the dent. They were looking at the machines, not the people.
Yeah.
There is a human need to feel that one has had an effect. And maybe one of the perverse effects of the effort to care for everybody is that people feel robbed of any effect on the world other than destroying it.
Yeah. And yeah, then just trying to like hide it with the good, you know, because for as much as these people are tear them down types, you know, you should see the way they lose their shit over the fucking vending machine protest. There's a Bigfoot is a company around here that stocks all the vending machines, right? And they've been doing strikes and standing outside their buildings and, you know, unfair wages, the whole 9 yards, everything else that's going on right now. And it's like, yeah, good for the workers. They'll talk about that day in and day out, and they'll put signs up, and you need to support this, and this is what they're doing, and know that buying food from this vending machine is crossing the picket line essentially, and that these are the replacement workers, and that if you want to support them, go buy snacks elsewhere, and the fist stickers and all this shit in the air. No, it's just like when I was in Antifa, they just kind of want to watch the world fucking burn, because get a couple drinks in them and ask them if they want to watch the world burn. They'll tell you. Well, yeah. Maybe if not here, people down south, those racist fucks, they can all fucking drop off the fucking cliff, rot in fucking hell, catch the next fucking plague. Shit, the last one didn't do enough damage. That's who these people really are. Not supporting the unions, not we're going to fight fascism, not we love you because you're trans and we want to fucking... Well, they might just love people because they're fucking trans, but it's not... Actually, there's no understanding of things like concepts like gender dysphoria. There's just not. I feel like gender dysphoria is a bad word.
They love people as a mascot, not as people.
Yeah. It's just gross. And everybody's using each other right now. It's like all the fucking free Gaza Palestine protests right now. One of the biggest reasons I bitch about them so much on this fucking channel, I haven't seen a single Muslim yet. I've seen them multiple times driving in and out of the city. I've seen one black guy seem to be having a good time. Seemed to be there just for the fun of it, though. I think he might have been dancing to something playing that they had going. It's all white kids. Those are the mascots for this one. It's a fucking teenage boy with his shirt tied around his head to simulate the headwear, holding a Palestinian flag at the corner, going, "Yeah, bro, free Gaza, man." Single fucking Muslim. It's just like everybody gets to be a prop in their own way. And it's just so sad because it's like, what if there is a real transsexual person that comes into this office? They're not going to want to fucking work there. Gay guy like me, I'm sick and tired of seeing that goddamn rainbow flag. This is the workplace. If anything, you're telling us we need to remain politically unbiased. It's literally in our job description. Tell the respondent that it is our job to remain politically neutral at all times. How can any of us legitimately say that when we're surrounded by communist symbols and rainbow flags and trans colors and fists and the head of Lenin? I don't think it turned out to be Lenin. I didn't recognize the guy, but I thought there was a statue of Lenin in there for a minute, and out of all this, would it be that fucking shocking? And I just don't even know, man. It's just could keep going and going on that the same way I could keep going and going in Antifa. Technically, I've spent more time here. But people don't speak out about it, right? Because it's the quirky place to work. It's the job. It's the you want to go and you want to retire young and you want to go do your parties and you want to go do your thing. It's basically like the town's dirty little secret. You know, you can anybody can work there. There was literally a blind man walking down the road with a cane one day, and he had his girlfriend on his shoulder who was also kind of mentally feeble. Again, I'm not shit talking that, but he literally walked by and was like, "Yeah, I used to work here. Anybody can work here. They're real accepting of who they're hiring." And they just look down the road. Constant reminders, day in and day out. And again, I hope he is good at his job. This really sounds like I'm coming down hard on the mentally feeble. I'm not. I'm just saying that when you create this space,
but
I get to observe and discuss it.
It's a job that has certain needs.
Yeah. Like they wanted to take on all these special needs. They wanted to take on all this accountability. And don't worry, we're going to take care of you. Taking care of people doesn't include just sitting on your ass and letting them do whatever. Like the fairy. You're not meeting your child's needs if you're sitting there playing fairy, living in a bubble, letting the person you're supposed to be caring about getting hurt. At that point, your trans flag sticker don't mean shit. Taking care of people now translates to letting people do whatever the fucking hell they want. Without consequence. That's caring for somebody in Eugene, Oregon.
George Orwell would probably be screaming.
But I mean, and they talk about the world like it's a dystopia, you know? Trump's coming back. We're not going to make it. I have to get out of the country. And I'm like, y'all not get a sense of deja vu ever? Ever. Again, the insect janitor. I almost fucking, well, I did start to go off because I actually kind of misinterpreted at first. But, you know, I'm just kind of going like, I'm tired of these political assassinations. I kind of joked. I'm like, our people can't fucking shoot. And, you know, wound up coming in and making all these comments and shit. It's like, yeah, I don't want people to come and kill Trump because then we're going to have JD Vance and then we're going to have to, and I'm like, I think I literally said, like, you're going to have to shut up now if you're about to go into some terrorist bullshit because I'm just not going to fucking do it right now. But then just kind of went into the whole thing about, no, it's JD Vance's agenda and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, okay, yes. Remember that. You hate fucking JD Vance that much? Don't cheer on the death of Donald Trump. But what do you think they do the next day? Oh, if only the bullet had been a little bit closer. So fucking tired of hearing that. I love the fact that I'm like, there's all these different podcasts that I'll listen to or hearing it from people like you that are on all different sides of the country. And they're like, things have simmered down. I feel a sense of unity. I feel like things are calming down. As crazy as things are getting on a social level, people are starting to unify. Not in this fucking town. Springfield, the red half of Eugene, next door. Yes, it is very much calmer over here for the most part. But, I mean, even then, we had 3 schools get shut down less than a week ago. And I was literally sitting outside. And one of my neighbors walks by. She's picking up trash. She's like, did you hear about the lockdown going on? And I'm like, what lockdown? She's like, oh, they have police helicopters all over and the schools are all on lockdown and they have drones in the sky. And literally, as she's saying that, a helicopter just swoops down in from over the sky and goes towards the high school, which is also high school where one of the first mass shootings in the United States happened at a school. So there's been revisited threats in regards to that. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. We just had drones in the sky and police chopters, and it wasn't just the schools on lockdown. We were on lockdown. What the fuck's going on? We're just reading that we're on lockdown. We're like, okay, we're on lockdown. But it's less ideological here. Like,
speaking of ideological stuff, are you familiar with the ballot boxes that got burned?
Oh yeah, I've been hanging on to my mail-in ballot, and I'm probably gonna go drop it in on election day. I wanted to do it sooner. I was debating not voting. I decided to just go ahead and do it, but they're fucking sabotaging it. Did they figure out? I know they got like a vehicle ID, but did they say anything on who it was or why, or even if it is the truth?
There is a suspect. Mostly homeless guy, probable drug user, unclear motive, but it could either be ideological Or it could just be he pretended it was ideological because he wants to go to prison where he'll have 3 hots in a cot.
Oh, and they do that around here. I've heard it told to me 1,000 of fucking times. They're like, it's not the greatest place, but you know what? It's a fucking roof. And I mean, as far as ideology, these people are becoming real fucking bipartisan. I mean, even Thomas Crooks, you know, everyone still wants to paint him as, was he right, was he left? Let's just focus on the fact that he was looking at both Biden and Trump's rallies and seeing which came first. Like, at the end of the day, I think it's like you said, a lot of these people just want to watch the world fucking burn. Yeah, voting in Oregon is not trustworthy. Say that clear for the fucking algorithm so I can get all my views stricken down. They've been having a field day the last 2 days. But no, and it's like, oh, now we have government officials coming in to keep things safe. Cool. So we have a corrupt government bringing in officials to keep guard at the ballot boxes now, where they can keep an eye on everything, like where the cameras are and who's doing what and who's facing where. It was a good way to turn the state red, whoever did it.
In DC, the ballot deposit box closest to the DC Board of Elections was unlocked for at least 15 minutes.
This is fucking sabotage, dude. And there's been instances too where ballot boxes have been happening. I think one of them was Philadelphia, and it'll be like, oh, don't worry, something went off, or a bunch of water got in, or you know, they're basically trying to play like something happened to the ballot box, but don't worry, nothing happened to the ballots. And I'm just like, yeah, see, CBS, yeah, CBS, because you've been doing some fucking great. Yeah, just because you got the word local in your name doesn't mean jack shit. You don't have anyone boots on the ground there. It's like, how about this? When I see a ballot box targeted, I'm assuming that ballots are going with it. I think that's a fairly safe fucking assumption. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of the election system, but I think it's fair to say I have a pretty good understanding of radical behavior and extremism at this point, and corruption, to know that the news doesn't understand reality. Shit is happening in the fucking shadows all the fucking time. The government knocked down 2 towers to get to the Middle East in bed with the fucking Saudis. Like, no, they're not telling us the truth. That's the whole fucking point of all this. So why should we just assume they're telling the truth about the ballots? Like, what, is the World Health Organization going to get say what we get to say on that next? It's retarded. And unfortunately, they wanted it to be retarded because no matter what happens, and as much as I hate to say it out loud because I feel like the more people say it, the more we're going to speak it into existence, but no one's going to trust the election results either way. The upside, Kamala Harris does not seem to have a lot of support. You know, there's this gay YouTuber I follow, I think his name's Amir Odom, and he was mentioning, he's like, I've gone to the Kamala Harris rallies, I've gone to the Trump rallies. He's like, you know, the only difference that I've noticed between the two, people don't boo Trump at a Trump rally. Talking about how Kamala Harris, they like the celebrities, they like even some of the politicians, but when it comes to Kamala, any like full force reaction, I feel like they'll have in response to that. I feel like a lot of it's going to be manufactured because it would have to be. Because people aren't, I don't know.
Kamala Harris couldn't keep staff. Normally working for the vice president is a great, after, it might be painful working for them for a while, but afterwards you've got a job for life, or at least you've got the gravy train rolling. Because, oh, you work for the vice president, you've got all these contacts. We can either slot you into a cool job in the bureaucracy or in the Democratic Party complex or in the media or NGOs, yada, yada, yada. Kamala Harris couldn't keep staff. People would rather quit than stick it out and get a cushy job for the rest of their life.
And you know, what was people's big complaint with Trump? Well, Trump just fired everybody he didn't like. Well, let's compare the two. Which is healthier, firing a bunch of people or losing a bunch of people?
And it depends on why they're being fired and why they're losing people.
Yeah,
But
because it's nuanced depending on the situation.
But Trump, at least he fired people. He was willing to pull the trigger on that. You've got the absolutely incompetent and disastrous pullout from Afghanistan. Normally someone would be fired. Nobody was fired. What the fuck? You have senior agency bureaucrats who ended up lying to Congress. They weren't fired. Trump, while I think he sometimes fired people for silly reasons, he at least fired people.
We realistically need more firings in this country. And a lot of those positions, I believe, are managerial because when you're not training your staff coming in on how to do the job, your staff doesn't deserve to bear the weight of your fucking incompetence. You know, like when I was working at the restaurant I worked at, congratulations, you're a waiter at one of the busiest stores off the highway. Good luck. We started you on a Saturday.
I started on Mother's Day. I started on Mother's Day. My training was 30 minutes.
That's more than they get. I mean, even like when I was working dish, which to be fair, I've been working dish a lot and I didn't need training, and I think they knew that, but even anyone else is coming for it. It's just like, all right, do your job. You're here now. We're gonna go stick around and do what we do. And that's been a reoccurring pattern. I've worked so many shitty jobs over the last few years, you know, from places like restaurants and retail, and I've had a lot of fucking jobs, you know. A guy like me runs his fucking mouth. We don't tend to stick out places for long. But, you know, it's there's never training just for anything anymore. And the one training I had, it was a DEI training for fucking Chevron, and it was done by a black guy who was rolling his eyes the entire time because he was just as done with bullshit as we were. And we all smoked and joked about it afterwards and about how fucking stupid it was. And how he's talking about his salary and how it makes it worth it. And I said, you work at one of the busiest gas stations off the highway. Good luck. This is the same vicinity. You have a highway coming that goes from Portland and up to that area that goes to Washington, and then it cuts down through the bottom of Oregon. So we get all that traffic. This will suck.
That suggests that there's a larger cultural phenomenon that makes people averse to normal managerial responsibilities and averse to proper training. And I mean, if a manager is incompetent and they don't understand the job well enough to teach people, they'll probably avoid trying to teach people. It's not just laziness, it can also be fear. But
in some cases, because some of these managers knew their shit.
Okay, so there were people who knew stuff, but
as far as that, half and half. I'll give half and half on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just sorry, continue, but yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Did the ones who knew their stuff have time to train people, or were they putting out fires caused by the incompetent people?
A little bit of both, but there's always time to train somebody. Most of these jobs, as busy as they are, there's always downtime. You know, it's the old saying, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean. Well, while the managers are leaning, they're not training.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gotten into it with managers before over that, where it's just like, you are making my life fucking harder. And then they like to hone in on, well, you're just paranoid, and well, other people aren't coming to us with this, and it always seems to be you pointing these things out, and it's like, yeah, because literally nobody can fucking trust. There's no coming to you for any of these fucking people. You had one manager, you had to literally follow around the store and track him down. He tried to run away. And he knew his job. He was fucking good at his job when he worked.
There's an old saying, there's an old Navy saying, if people aren't complaining, something's wrong. Either things are too cushy and they're not actually going to be in the right mindset for when something they need to do has to get done, or you've made yourself too unapproachable or too negative towards people who try to provide complaints or feedback. And that means you're not going to get information, so something's going to break soon. Complaining is, it doesn't sound really nice to receive complaints, but it's a normal part of the healthy working of an organization.
Or even like a family structure, you know? It's like anything, like a relationship. Complaints are healthy, you know, just the same as like struggle with it as I get older, but pat yourself on the back a little bit sometimes. That's healthy. But we're taught not to pat ourselves on the back. We're taught not to complain. Or when we are, we're taught to do those two things incredibly too much.
Yeah.
And then what it's like when you have everybody doing both those two things incredibly too much, it's like, I don't know. I'm just so scared that I'm going to live in Texas one day and this is going to happen.
Well, remember the saying, keep Austin weird? Other places have been copying that slogan.
Oh, I thought it came from Portland. You know, just keep Portland weird. Keep Eugene weird. They have that. Keep it weird. There's literally a Portlandia skit on that where they're like, keep it weird, keep it weird, keep it weird, keep it weird. But yeah, this keeping it weird is now resulting in even just it's weird. I could do weird. I could do gory. I could do fucked up. You know, the shit that I present on the channel is only a fraction of my taste or the things that I engage with. I could do a lot of crazy shit. Being, you know, but what I am dealing with when I leave these doors should not be representative of. I don't even. Again, I have such a high threshold for fucking crazy. I feel like this is no secret at this point, but this place is fucking breaking me. Again, I only have like a month or so, and I'm fucking out. But it's like, even I'm sitting here like with a month left, I'm like, can I survive a month? Can I make it a month? With everything happening day in and day out. And then I try to have a day where I lock myself in the room, and I just can't because I'm just so fucking ADHD about everything. I'm like, I'm going to have 2 days without video editing. By the end of that day, I've created a music video and I've put out a clip, and I'm just like, I didn't do it. It's just, so it's like things just keep gravitating because I just keep putting myself out there and I just can't fucking stop. And that's just my demon to bear. But I'm also just like, Jesus, fuck Eugene. Like, imagine coming into a place where, for as much fucked up shit as I'm telling you right now, it was that much positivity. And it was that much feel good. And it was that much welcome. You are like, let's be friends. Let's sit down. For just as horrible as this area is now, it was that good in the opposite direction. And that was only like 6 years ago. Well, a little longer, I guess I've been here, but still roughly around that time where it's like, it's gone from heaven to hell. You know, no one here appreciated what they had. And for the people who've lived here, they've assured me, they're like, oh yeah, this happened way before you started coming here. You should have seen it in the early 2000s. You should have seen it in the 90s. You should have seen it during the flower power era. And you see these photos and you want to cry. You're like, fuck, this is beautiful. Like, who wouldn't want to run away to here? But all the runaways were fucking criminals. And especially after COVID.
Well, this may be a bit of an East Coast versus West Coast thing because they're both plugged into the Democratic policy culture where everybody debates things like, hey, let's decriminalize drugs. Let's let all the criminals out. Let's defund the police. But where cities along the East Coast went into it a little bit, and DC tends to be so overwhelmingly Democratic that they kind of jump in both feet first by East Coast standards. But what you're describing is it wasn't just, hey, here's a policy, let's implement it, and let's be boring about it. It's let's make that the essence of our soul in the West Coast.
West Coast, best coast, baby. Fucking jackasses up here. It's like, as much as I hate to admit it, a lot of that West Coast criticism I grew up with, those fucking Californians and those goddamn work, I hate to say it, but I'm starting to feel it. Because there always has been like this kind of like tribal mindset of Texans versus Californians. Like, honestly, pull over California license plates far more in certain areas. Just because fuck you, what the fuck are you doing here? And you're probably fucking carrying. So it was always very anti-California growing up, and like coming up here, oh, and like Oregon too, but like coming up here is just like, nah, fuck that. They don't just get it. And if only they knew how good it is. And now I'm just like, y'all drive like shit. Y'all smell like shit. You're living shit lifestyles. And it wasn't always this way, and I want you back. But in the meantime, fucking sayonara. Wait till I have Buc-ee's and H-E-B and all that good shit back that I took for granted.
I mean, I still can't get over the state of the bathrooms and the desks you described.
Neither can I, dude. Like, you smell. I'll walk in. There'll be a clean floor sign. Come back in 15 minutes. It's just cleaned.
And it's 3
Cleaning
hours
is
later.
dipping a mop. Well, yeah, that too. But it's literally like a mop is ran around. So sometimes, like when it dries, there'll be like a piss spiral. I've seen that before. It's just all smeared and shit. And like people have like looked at me like dirty for not washing my hands on the way out because I'll go get Germex out of there. But I'm like, look at these handles. I trust rubbing my hand on this faucet as much as I do rubbing it on the toilet. These stains have been here from day one. I am not a germaphobe, but this is ridiculous. Yeah, man. The ceiling panels falling out. The fucking smash doors from tweakers trying to fucking break in. Let's see. The elevator not working. Well, sometimes working. I got in it the other day and it's just like tick, 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 tick. And I looked at my manager. I'm like, so, you know about this ticking noise? Because he's just sitting there. And I'm like, this sounds unsafe as fuck. And he's like, oh, you're probably good. It'll probably take a sec, but I'm sure you're fine. The repair guy's actually going to be here in 30 minutes to look at it. And I'm like, well, if it's making a ticking noise and the repairman's coming in, what the fuck? Do we need to ask these fucking questions? Do we even need to have these fucking discussions in society?
Toxic positivity, man.
Fucker.
I mean, if you're going to do a safety assessment, you have to be able to imagine what can go wrong. I mean, ranging from people getting sick from the biological hazards to the elevator crashing. Okay, the elevator probably won't crash, but
I mean, people. When I worked there at one point, someone got stuck in there for like an hour or two at one point. This was years ago, but the history of the elevator is a long one. Again, if I don't
for a plate to be like that takes either extreme callousness, and that's not the mindset of the managers you're describing, or toxic positivity.
And good vibes only. Don't pop this bubble. Don't come in here with your gender critical bullshit. Don't you come in here asking him where he's from. But simultaneously, I mean, the trans thing is the only thing that would be able to pop that bubble. I genuinely believe if I were to misgender the fucking freak that's been eyeing me over the fucking cubicle, and I don't mean that because of their identity, I mean that because they're a fucking freak, and I'm tired of seeing someone drooling over me and approaching me and hearing fucking girls say, "Get away from me." So fuck that twat. But my calling him a him, oh, dude, I would lose my job so fucking fast over that. If that complaint were taken to the desk, absolutely. Because then that's a poor reflection on them of how they didn't protect a trans person. So then word would get out about them, right? It's only whenever there's personal impact.
Hypocrisy. It's for everybody.
Yeah. Shit. Well, do we have any like closing thoughts you want to do out with here? I should probably get done here in the next 30 minutes just because I got to go pick up my husband from work tonight.
Okay. Andor. Thoughts on the entire series? I wouldn't say Andor is a communist show. It is a revolutionary one. Communists talk a lot about revolution because they believe that when the global revolution happens, there will be utopia. So they feel the need to usher in a global revolution. And of course, it's a terrible idea, and they don't understand the world enough to actually build a utopia. But Andor is a revolutionary show because Star Wars is a show about a revolution.
Absolutely.
A New Hope is about a fight against the government.
I feel like the little drop
before that fight.
Yeah, no, the drop of Marxism that I detected in there, which was less of a worry for me because he's actually my favorite character, but I kind of felt it was in Nemec, the one with the manifesto.
Oh, yeah.
But that was just like, whenever I saw that come in, that was more like a, oh no, that feels realistic because there would be someone more a little bit on that mindset, and that character made me cry.
Well, there was all sorts of revolutionary manifestos, only some of them communist. Remember the Unabomber?
I think I'm just so skeptical of Disney. I'm like, where are they trying to get me, Cyprian? How are they coming at me? Because this was a smart show. It's like, what did they sneak in there? Because it's actually, well, what it felt like, but it's so good.
Nothing in that show was unique to communism. It was just generic revolutionary behavior. And it was extremely well done. Now, there's bits of it that seem like call outs to specific things, like the 1970s, trying to raid the fort with the pay. Well, there was a bit of romance of the left-wing terrorists that would try to rob banks.
IRA.
So, I mean, the IRA did that, but groups like the Symbionese Liberation Army, the Weather Underground, the Rote Army faction, they all tried to rob banks. So
it makes sense.
It does. But the dynamics of, here's a bunch of people. Are they just in it for the money? Are they in it for the ideology? Are they gullible idiots? Are they actually useful? There's a whole psychodrama about it that people were talking about into the 90s. So it very much seemed like that part of the show was in reference to all the bank heists from the 70s.
What do you think about the prison complex?
I actually found it kind of boring.
Really?
I mean, it might be because I've read accounts from dissidents who got sent to prison. So
I was hearing up to it.
Yeah. I mean, aside from the forced labor schedule and lying to people and killing them kind of arbitrarily, that actually seemed like a relatively nice prison.
And it was actually based off George Lucas's first film he ever did, TX-9100. I feel like
TX-1138. A
yeah.
wonderful movie.
I haven't watched the full version, but I watched the shorter version once upon a time, and yeah, man, I just need to go in and watch that one now. But I don't that one is, it got me fucked up because Andy Serkis is a wonderful actor, but the whole idea of putting together this machinery and you think you're just doing standard factory work and you're just doing this repetitive day-to-day job and you don't realize you're actually putting together pieces of a fucking Death Star. That was... I don't know, like, it makes sense because obviously you could, like, pinpoint in history where it is, but that paired along with the breakout. Andor was really good for monologues. I love a good monologue. Shocker, because I talk all the fucking time, but the writing was so phenomenal and every character felt unique.
My name is Kino Loy. I'm the day shift manager on level 5. I'm speaking to you from the command center on level 8. We are at this moment in control of the facility.
Is that the best you got?
How long we hang on, how far we get, how many of us make it out, all of that is now up to us. We have deactivated every floor in the facility. All the floors are cold. Wherever you are, right now, get up. Stop the work. Get out of your cells. Take charge and start climbing. They don't have enough guards, and they know it. If we wait until they figure that out, it'll be too late. We will never have a better chance than this. And I would rather die trying to take them down than giving them what they want. We know they fried 100 men on level 2. We know that they are making up our sentences as we go along. We know that no one outside here knows what's happening. And now we know that when they say we are being released, we are being transferred to some other prison to go and die. And that ends today. There is one way out. Right now. The building is ours. You need to run, climb, kill. You need to help each other. You see someone who's confused, someone who's lost. You get them moving and you keep them moving until we put this place behind us. There are 5,000 of us. If we can fight half as hard as we've been working, we will be home in no time. One way out. 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 Let's get out of here.
Yes, the characters felt real. I mean, even in the monologues, it felt real. Nothing felt especially contrived until the final fight riot thing at the funeral. That's the only part that really felt horribly contrived. And you can kind of explain that by...
Sorry, go ahead.
And you can kind of explain that away as these people are incompetent. They have fancy equipment, fancy command structures, but fundamentally they're incompetent cowards. It still feels kind of silly to me because you'd have to be really freaking stupid to do things like that, but well, there probably wouldn't be a huge revolution if everybody was competent.
Yeah. It felt, that whole scene, you know, I feel like when I watched that, it was representative of the best moments of Black Lives Matter, where even looking back where I don't agree with everything that was said or the things being pushed, the spirit of being surrounded by hundreds of people or dozens or however many the day may bring, some days when they were like good days where it was like there wasn't really much countering and everybody was just kind of out, and even days where the police did show up, because there was some of those too where there's music playing, someone there with drums or trumpet, and there's some people crying, or if it's night, maybe some people have some fucking candles out. But the moments you're there when the police do show up, even if it's on a uniform line, even if it's just showing up in any form or fashion, the tensity in that moment of everyone just like goosebumps, hair standing up, like standing up straight, what the fuck are we doing? And then you still have the musician who, again, whether I agree with any of this or not anymore, is just playing. And as they get closer, they play louder and louder and fucking louder. And one of the friends that I marched with was up at the federal courthouse riots in Portland, and there's famous videos of them going and shaking the fence, and there's somebody playing the Imperial March there as they're going through and doing it. And again, riotous behavior is bad. I fully disagree with it in hindsight, and I want to get to the bottom of what the fuck happened. I think we should as a society if we want to heal, but her story, her account with the videos, with literally the Imperial March from fucking Star Wars as fucking federal agents and police are there in full riot gear, and you got someone right next to my friend old friend getting their head fucking caved in, and she's fucking pushing through, and then you see the drums right there and the horns, and the police aren't really fucking with them yet because they're more worried about the rioters, so the music just keeps playing and shit keeps getting thrown over the fence, and then trinkets start to come out. Music in those moments creates such a power that you cannot possibly fucking imagine unless you're there. But Andor came pretty fucking close, I feel like. Music drives revolutions.
There's a reason why there's all sorts of revolutionary songs. Yankee Doodle was sung by American revolutionaries. La Marseillaise by French ones.
You have to send me those because I can't spell it.
Yeah, okay.
Some of these I wait for the pen and I'm like, I'm not even going to try because I just type in jargon into the Google.
Just French national anthem. They still have it. And it used to be the revolutionary anthem for a number of other revolutions.
Like within France or elsewhere?
In France and elsewhere.
Interesting. There's a lot of really pretty anthems out there. Fuck, Russia? There's something oddly nostalgic about that for some guy who's never been to or around Russia. I'm like,
the Internationale. I don't think it's still there. I don't think it's the modern Russian anthem, but the.
Oh yeah, Soviet.
Yeah, but look, I hate communism. I despise it. I know the millions of people have been murdered and tortured, and it was a horrible ideology, and yet. My God, that's a stirring anthem.
I mean, sometimes when you burn everything down to the ground and all there is a fucking lump of fucking coal from all the char you've created, it's like there's gotta be some diamonds in that shit. It's been burning fucking long enough. Like, it's like you've talked before about like how if it can be presented in a good way, there can be some really good woke shows. There was a reboot of Watchmen. Woke as fuck. They made the fucking neo-Nazi cult based off fucking Rorschach. Dr. Manhattan was black. They gave a black female protagonist the lead. They did all the tropes. Dude, it was so fucking good. It's like for all the crappy woke shit, it's like not everything out of these crazy times is bad. Dare I say there's even some Nazi music that I find myself tapping my foot to. Now I make sure to not tap my foot too hard and to remind myself of what they did. But if we're looking from an artistic perspective, and any side can create art, nobody's exempt from creating beauty in some form or fashion, even if the messaging's not fucking beautiful.
Because even bad people are still people.
Shocker. It's almost like we spent all this time dehumanizing each other or something.
I mean, guess what? A member of the British Union of Fascists actually led the most effective British intelligence organization in World War II that did more to destroy the German occupation than any other intelligence organization.
Jesus.
So here's this guy who's a fascist, but also a sincere British patriot. Do you throw away his talents or do you use them to destroy the enemy?
And as much as people on the left don't want to fucking hear it, a lot of these neo-Nazis in the modern era, they're patriots before anything else. They may not want to fucking, some people may not want to hear it, but, a lot of these people, at the end of the day, it's about preservation of country.
And some are, some aren't. Because
absolutely.
Who's that frickin' Fuentes guy?
Nick Fuentes. I've never gone into him enough. I've always just heard shit, but
I'm about 90% sure this guy's getting paid by some government.
Is it just a little too on the nose? Just like you're a little too Nazi?
I mean, there's that. Yeah, he basically shows up at the most opportune time to discredit a conventional protest movement.
And who is he, like, other than, like, because, I mean, I've seen him in interviews. Is he, like, a YouTuber, or what's, like, his sole
basically a YouTuber
profession that he does? Okay.
Basically,
the first time I heard of him was when he was going to do the Kanye stuff, I think, with Alex Jones. And I heard some of the stuff then, but I was like, man, Kanye's enough right now. I can't even deal with this guy who I've never met. But it's weird too. I notice that one thing I have noticed about him, because it's always like bipartisan on the fact that he does come at shit with super far right, basically neo-Nazi claims. Pops up in my YouTube algorithm all the fucking time. I'm shadow banned to all fucking hell, but Nick Fuentes.
Okay, my conspiracy theory here is that he's basically a plant. The current system is too stupid to be justified by any other grounds other than the people fighting against the current incompetence are evil. The Nazis are pretty darn evil. Neo-Nazis are pretty darn evil. So create some neo-Nazi influencer who is so repugnant he will drive people to the other side, and then try to put him with the people genuinely trying to reform the system peacefully, so his very presence discredits the people trying to reform things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it makes sense. They do it with the living and they do it with the dead. I mean, it's kind of different, but there was a shooter down at a shopping center that I used to go to down in Allen, Texas all the time. And my stepmother, she was down there and lived in the area. Not the stepmother I usually talk about, but the other one. And she heard there was a shooting, and she's like, fuck, I know people in that area. I'm right in the area. I'm going to go see what happened, because she had heard the shooter got taken out. They showed a cadaver of a neo-Nazi on the news. She was like, that motherfucker was Mexican. Brown, Mexican mafia tattoos, all ganged up. And they went and showed a cadaver of a neo-Nazi on the news. And then went into a whole fucking discussion about how we needed gun reform in the state of Texas, and maybe these new gun laws they put in place really aren't such a good thing. Because if I'm not mistaken, this happened after the open carry thing. I mean, if they do it with the dead, they can do it with the living. The living can report back at the very least. But I remember, I think even Tim Pool spoke out about that, and it was slammed as this whole conspiracy theory, and I didn't even see that until after I talked to my stepmom. She's like, yeah, they're saying they're a Nazi, but it's fucking Mexican.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if it's a gang member, there's a certain agreement there, you know?
A number of police departments, well, two things. One, journalists feel they have an ethical obligation that when they present news of shocking crimes, they don't report it in a way that it that public anger could rebound towards any minority group. They don't feel that extends to rebound on the majority group. So that's created their weird thing of, if a criminal is white, they'll show their image. If the criminal is from a minority group, they won't. So that's caused people to assume, oh, anytime they don't show the image, they're black. So that's actually had the effect of increasing racism.
I mean, that's literally what I assume, and I hate to admit that, but literally when there was that parade going, I feel like I'm going to describe this, and this is going to be like 7 different instances, but there was a parade, might have been in Georgia, but there was a guy who plowed through the parade. I think it might have been Christmas
Wisconsin,
or Thanksgiving, and took out, might have been, yeah. And I think he turned out to be like a black supremacist. And me and my husband were debating it. And I'm like, look, we haven't heard anything in 2 hours. This guy's blacker than all hell. And he's just like, why the fuck would you say that? I'm like, just wait. And then sure as shit. And I'm like, look, I hate to sound like that guy. I sound like all the racists I grew up with. But I mean, they've literally created these conditions. I'm not going to bullshit what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So a lot of the squeamishness by left-wing reporters has created a resurgent racism.
It's manufactured.
Yeah.
I used to hate hearing that. People would say that at the protests. They're like, this is manufactured. You're just bringing back racism. I'm like, bitch, how are we bringing back racism if all of y'all are out here being racist? Shut your fucking white mouth.
So yeah, that's a bigger topic. But then you also had, when people started digging in and trying to find the mugshots of various criminals, they would post them, and then a couple of months later, various police departments would label various criminals white, even if they were about as black as Neil deGrasse Tyson, or even darker. So the result is you have a bunch of people who are not white under most people's understanding getting labeled as white, so people don't look at the crime figures and come to very racist conclusions. And
that's funny, because I was looking for a mugshot of mine a while back, and thankfully someone was able to send it to me because I wanted to use it on the show just to kind of show people the state I was in. But you know, when I was trying to go through and look at it, Lane County mugshots, you can't find mugshots from here anymore. And that all happened after the protest because it became too politically, it caused too much problems. You know, people didn't want to get doxxed or anything like that. So if you want to go look for someone's mugshot right now, you can't. Like, I can't even find myself. So that makes me wonder how much of that's going on if that's the case. Like,
well, one of the side effects is now you have a whole bunch of people who assume that racism is the intellectually honest way to look at the world, assuming, oh, they're hiding the data. That means this must be even worse than we imagine.
And again, there's a lot of Nazis here. Black Lives Matter was not wrong about that shit.
I ran into a guy from Oregon, and yeah, he was saying some pretty racist stuff. So,
dude, they are worse than the Texans up here. Again, I thought that I was getting away from that when I was younger. And yeah, I had some run-ins and met some people. But yeah, I say you go to the Walmart sometimes and you're like, Black Swan, swastika, Iron Cross, Vietnam jacket decked out in SS shit. Okay. Well, glad everybody's here together and having a good time.
Yippee.
But again, I would rather live side by side with those people and not be engaged in violence or wanting to tear each other apart. Like, if they want to be Nazis, they have the right to be Nazis. And that sucks because Nazism is bad. And in my angriest utopia, if we could just take a flamethrower to every Nazi and every Hitler, kill Hitler as a baby, blah, 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 blah. People died. Shit happened. It was fucking horrible. We need to fucking learn from it. One of the lessons I think we need to learn from it is don't inflame the problem. This will not die out if we keep telling them what pieces of fucking shit they are and creating a racist ass society for them to rebel against. Because again, for anyone listening to this right now, and I'm probably going to do a reading on my channel and change the words up. I still really want to do that. But read the Turner Diaries. It's considered a white supremacist Bible. And if you were to read it 10 years ago, you'd be like, this is the most racist, fucking unimaginable shit I've ever read. And now if you read it, you're like, this is the most racist, imaginable shit I have ever read. Because they essentially just created a mimicry of that world. And part of that story was they were going around killing black people, doing lynchings, killing the gays, going around to people watching the news and seeing all the horrible things happening. Like all the police officers were now black and all the white people were disowned. And they're like, hey, you want to join us? It's just getting real fucked up, right? They keep pushing us closer to that. It's like the Republicans aren't creating this neo-Nazi dystopia. You fucks are.
And that's what I wish more people understood. Because now there's a generational divide. As the memory of World War II recedes further into the background, people don't realize just how much documentation there was. They don't realize that the people criticizing the Nazis, they weren't the idiots and crooks we have in charge now. They were actually smart, accomplished, and intellectually honest people. So the Nazis were actually bad. It's not just propaganda. And as people look at the current corruption, they want something better. And I see people, and not just on Twitter, in real life, who say, oh, come on. Looking at how stupid and corrupt people are now, do you think the government was any better back then? Surely what they were saying about the Nazis was propaganda, just as there's propaganda now.
Nuremberg, people. Nuremberg. I feel like that was one of the greatest accomplishments of human history. Yes, not all the Nazis made it through. Some of them got to go build spaceships and work with aliens and do shit for NASA. But overall, on average, a lot of that problem got fucking swept up. And we forget that there was an agreement to never let that happen again. There was a promise there to never let it get to that point, that no matter who the fuck you were, that no matter where the fuck you lived, if you see this happening again, you fucking do something about it. And if we have to reconvene, we will. And guess what? If we have to reconvene, we will. That's it.
And people have so abused the term Nazi that people can no longer tell the difference between what the Nazis actually were and the people being hyperbolically accused of being Nazi. So I have this book, Lutherans Against Hitler, The Untold Story. I mean, there's basic things like, oh, here's these Lutheran pastors who didn't want to have the Old Testament of the Bible removed. Basic Christian doctrine. The Old Testament is part of the Bible. It's God's word. We're going to teach it. The Nazis wanted to get rid of it.
Just like they do now.
So you have people who hear, oh, the Nazis were, okay, these traditional Christians are Nazis. Oh, Nazis must have been defending civilization and Christianity. No!
This man was an occultist. Everyone acts like he went to church every day and put on his fucking shoes and beat his kid if they didn't pray before the altar. He was worshiping Satan and doing drugs.
Yeah.
What are all you fucks that they're doing screaming Nazi? You're worshiping Satan and doing drugs. There's a power in that. Doing drugs and worshiping Satan got him far. The elite do drugs and talk to Satan. These little anarchist brats on the street do drugs and talk to Satan. The problem isn't God. Sorry, I'm screaming today. I know this comes through really loud in the fucking camera. I'm sorry.
Occult feminism. The Secret History of Women's Liberation. And there's another book I have about, basically a lot of people, and whether you believe in Satan or not, there's a certain psychological power that comes from deciding that they're going to do evil rather than good. A psychological power that comes with deciding to ally oneself with the lust for power rather than the lust for order.
Wait one moment. Are you down to wait one moment? I have something that I want to bring to this conversation. Me, a Christian conspiracy theorist. I'll show you a fucking Christian conspiracy theorist. Man, let's see. Sorry, continue with your thought there, but the Satanic Bible. Maybe we can learn a couple things from it.
Anton LaVey, oh god, that idiot.
His daughter's been speaking out hard against that shit. That's been very interesting.
I did not know that.
She went on Jordan Peterson recently. It was a really interesting discussion. But unlike everyone I was just screaming about, he didn't seem to do drugs. He was very anti-drug. He told his children, do not do drugs. And something tells me it's because this man knew some shit about that and knew that it probably created subservience and that it's better to have people around you doing the drugs than actually doing them yourself. That's just my theory.
No, that's a pretty plausible one. Some of the nastier cult leaders gave their followers drugs but didn't use them themselves.
I mean, Jim Jones didn't drink the Kool-Aid, did he?
No, he shot himself. But
Let's say for a second, I'm like, fuck, did he?
But Manson basically kept on giving his followers drugs. I mean, he used some as well, but he basically he relied on drugs to keep a lot of his followers following him.
All right. So this isn't the one I was looking for, but looking through it briefly, I'm pretty sure we can find some things that tie into this. The 9 satanic statements. Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence. Satan represents vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams. Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit. Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for the psychic vampires. Satan represents man as just another animal, sometimes better, more often worse than those that walk on all fours who, because of his divine, spiritual, and intellectual development, has become the most vicious animal of all. Satan represents all of the so-called sins as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. Satan has been the best friend the church has ever had as he has kept it in business all these years. That's how these kids are living.
Well,
Thinking of my workplace a lot in that.
the legacy of the 60s was not always a good one.
Again, they don't even read the Satan shit. They just blindly worship. And the ones that do, even if I don't agree with them, I can at least respect it. You want to fucking slit your fucking wrist and bleed into a fucking jar and piss in it under the floor? Do what you're gonna fucking do. That's wild. Tell me more about it. But they just want to wear the pentagram, and they just want to have the goats, and they just want to have the tattoos, and
They like the illusion of power, and they can't imagine what it really means to be unrestrained.
unrestrained is fucking hell. That's why Satan fucking lives there.
One man without restraint, that's Nazi Germany. That's Soviet Russia. I don't think Beria was very restrained, and they found hundreds of bodies under his house.
And these, again, it's just the talk of murder and the people I'd kill and the people I'd fuck up is so casual. Again, I don't put the imagery on my channel in the music videos to like beef it up or say this is a good thing. It's more of a, this is fucking horrible. You know, goddamn well this is a disturbing image. And, you know, these people are just so, goddamn.
people casually feed their appetite for destruction and they don't realize that they will eventually destroy themselves.
So I was trying to see. I'll show you eventually my self-defense machete that I took with me to all the Antifa rallies. Shit was the size of my fucking leg. It's like, why? Why? Because I wanted to look powerful. I was never gonna bust that machete out. What? Fucking cop with a fucking machete? No, I wanted to look scary. Because all the scarier motherfuckers had that. And because I felt like people wouldn't fuck with me. And that's, I think, what a lot of Satanism is, too. It's they don't want the Christians to fuck with them because they're perceiving so much fuckery that they're just like, stay the fuck away from me. If you see me fucking tattoo this shit on my face, or you see me do this, or you see or hear or whatever I'm presenting to you, and you back off, devil be gone. I'm God now. And it's more of a shield that's only temporary, and I feel like only really lasts in your youth. Because at least the older I'm getting, I'm just like, I mean, all the esoteric beliefs or theological beliefs or spiritual beliefs that I may have, it's just like at the end of the day, I was so silly for getting this shit. I was so fucking dumb. It's like I said with the symbols. Even for all this reading it, I don't remember what the fuck that. I know these are elementals. I'm pretty sure. I can tell you what each sigil represents for the fucking life of me. The Necronomicon tattoo is a little different because. I had a father that when he was abusing me, he'd keep me sleep deprived. My first B, I told you, I came back and there was a mattress and a picture of Jesus Christ on the floor. But he took a copy of my Necronomicon, and that was the first time anyone had ever taken a book away from me. And I essentially swore it was going to be the last. And that was kind of the anger that went into this tattoo, was that level of, you will not keep information away from me. Which thankfully I think was a learning lesson down the road. So I feel less silly about this one, but yeah, it's just like I don't know. People are going to realize after a while that their war paint's going to look a lot more like a tacky fair tattoo. It's just, whether it's tattoos or clothes or the pictures we take of ourselves. I mean, how many people who are older than me, I've heard it a million times before, look back at their big hair photos from the 80s and they're like, oh my God, I really did that. Now you have all this. This isn't just big hair anymore, silly dresses, or the pants were a little frayed at the bottom, and that's not how people dress these days. This is going to be some next level embarrassment all across the board. And I think we're already starting to see it because the trends are dying. They're shifting. We're moving on to new things now. That's life.
Well, that's certainly a lot to think about.
Sorry, I'm a rambler. They ask why everything's broken.
A combination of destructive coddling resulting in people who destroy things just to feel like they actually have an effect on the world, and people who are so driven to coddle people that they cannot admit that there are problems and people's needs aren't being met.
Well, Cyprian, have any closing thoughts? Should probably get to wrapping this up.
This sounds trite, but a lot of people in charge really cannot imagine those kinds of working conditions. They can't imagine the depths of the incompetence and lack of understanding that's going on. They think things are better than they are, maybe because their knowledge of the world is 20 years old and things weren't this bad 20 years ago. Or because they've never really engaged with people who are outside of the academic government bubble. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff freaking broke. There's a lot of problematic people. There's a lot of things that should not be happening. And the government, the managers, the media, it's not just a matter of them hating people or just wanting to make a quick buck. Quite often they have no idea that they can't make a quick buck because everything's breaking down because of what you're describing.
You like money.
Yeah.
You like keep things working.
And they don't realize that conditions like that are going to lose them money because they have no idea that conditions like that actually exist.
And I think that means that people from down here need to get in touch with people from up here. People from up here need to break bread with people from down here. I feel like you're up here and I'm down here. You are in a vastly different space. You have so much more knowledge. You've done your schooling. You're in politics. I never thought I'd be sitting with somebody in DC, a guy with all these fucked up stories and all this crazy shit. I could pass that along to you. And if you ever need to pass that along to someone in DC, then it wouldn't have happened otherwise. Just through conversation, just through feeling comfortable and being able to speak, because I don't ever feel uncomfortable being able to speak with you because you've given me that space. And we need to learn from each other like that, I feel like. And to get that rebellious attitude back, like, oh my God, they'll say, fuck this job, fuck this job, fuck this job all day. And it's like, well, get to fighting. Maybe you can fix it. Polling's probably dead, though. I have no hope for polling anymore. They're going to give all that shit up to AI in a fucking year. Half the time, I think we're training AI models because half the people sound fucking monogamous. Hell, monogamous. Mono something. But
Monotonous.
Monotonous. But yeah, polling's dead. But for the rest of you, you have a chance. Speak out and make friends in different places. You know, maybe not even higher or lower, just different. We've made it different places in life, came from different places, had different influences in our lives. We should share those influences. You know? So what I try to do with this channel is this person influenced me, or this person helped me in this way, or this person helped me in this way, or, you know, we all have that to some degree. You know, music, TV, just all of it. It's Renaissance. Like, we can make this a party, or we can make it a war. And I think we all suck at war. It's turning out. We were not bred for it. In fact, it seems like this was all designed to take out soldiers and men of fighting spirit. So maybe let's just acknowledge the fact that we're not ready for wartime and do some soul searching. Make some friends.
Oh, a good message to close on. Good to hear from you, and thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's always good talking to you, man. All right, peace and love, you guys.
It's a long, long road where I'm at. All the lights don't glow where I'm at. You know most won't go where I have. Till I'm a ghost, I'ma go for the bag. I'm fighting monsters in my head. I'm lighting all my cigarettes. I'm sliding every time there's threats. I know they wanna see me dead till they dead, yeah. Get the bread, yeah, lay in bed, yeah. Take my meds, yeah. Send a text to see if we still friends, yeah. Fuck the feds, yeah, till the end, yeah. Wonder if the homies got my message. Probably send the text again, yeah. Hollywood promises, pray to God for some honesty. It's all drama and problems and platinum coffins for prodigies. We got skeleton closets, garages steadily filled. It's Hollywood forever till it's Beverly Hills. If you don't pay the price, you don't live this life, yeah, yeah. Back is full of knives, I don't sleep at night, yeah, yeah. If you close your eyes, that's how people die, yeah, yeah. I cannot be nice, I cannot be nice, yeah, yeah. If you don't pay the price, you don't live this life, yeah, yeah. Back is full of knives, I don't sleep at night, yeah, yeah. If you close your eyes, that's how people die, yeah, yeah. I cannot be nice, I cannot be nice, yeah, yeah. It's a cold, cold world where I'm at. It's everyone I know who been putting on an act. On the low, low, shipping hella whack. Sell your soul for a couple hundred racks. I'm hiding underneath my bed. I'm finding things that I regret. I'm dying deep inside my chest. I know they wanna see me dead till they dead, yeah. All the stress, yeah, shit a mess, yeah. Tryna flex, yeah. Enemies I never even met, yeah. I need rest, yeah. I'm a wreck, yeah. What the heck? Bulletproof the Gucci and I put it on my chest, yeah. Hollywood promises, I swear nothing is real. Think I'm numb to it, honestly. When they touch, I don't feel. It's all gossip and parties, designer clothes, popping pills. You know it's Hollywood forever till it's Beverly Hills. If you don't pay the price, you don't live this life, yeah, yeah. Back is full of knives, I don't sleep at night, yeah, yeah. If you close your eyes, that's how people die, yeah, yeah. I cannot be nice, I cannot be nice, yeah, yeah. If you don't pay the price, you don't live this life, yeah, yeah. Back is full of knives, I don't sleep at night, yeah, yeah. If you close your eyes, that's how people die, yeah, yeah. I cannot be nice, I cannot be nice, yeah, yeah. You cannot be saved by the money and the fame. Put your money in a safe, keep your body out the grave. Keep your focus on the paper, keep a camera on the gate. Keep your finger on the trigger just in case. Pew, pew. If you don't pay the price, you don't live this life, yeah, yeah. Back is full of knives, I don't sleep at night, yeah, yeah. If you close your eyes, that's how people die, yeah, yeah. I cannot be nice, I cannot be nice, yeah, yeah. If you don't pay the price, you don't live this life, yeah, yeah. Back is full of knives, I don't sleep at night, yeah, yeah. If you close your eyes, that's how people die, yeah, yeah. I cannot be nice, I cannot be nice, yeah, yeah.